Good morning and welcome to the safety induction for site entry. In order to enter the construction site, it is mandatory to undergo safety induction. Induction is mandatory for workers, technicians and visitors. In order to enter the construction site, it is obligatory to have protective equipment such as safety helmet, high visibility vest, ear protection, safety shoes, identification badge. Pay the utmost attention to the routes to be followed. The routes will always be marked with appropriate safety bands or chains. Smoking is prohibited in the construction site area. There are designated areas for smokers outside the building. It is forbidden to use mobile phones on the vehicles and during work operations. If handling machinery is used, observe the maximum speed limit of 5 km per hour. Every vehicle on the worksite must have a plate with the name and surname of the person in charge of the company. The name of the company, the telephone number of the company's supervisor, and the identification code of the vehicle so that it can be traced back to the keys, which must be kept in a common notice board when the vehicles are not in use, so that if there is a need to move them due to possible interference with other companies, the person with the requirements can move them or temporarily move them. The main dangers on the construction site are as follows. Danger of falling. Danger of investment from construction equipment. Danger of falling objects from above. Danger of electric shock. All work areas must be segregated and signposted with white and red safety nets or chains. These areas are forbidden to operators not belonging to that work activity or company. The use of equipment. All equipment must be used intact of its parts such as guards, shields and various knobs are not allowed to use power adapters. Extension cords lying on the ground in areas where there is vehicle transit must be protected with wood on the sides or walkable channels suitable for vehicle passage. Each company must have its own electrical panel with the respective sign. Below are some pictures of emergency procedures in the event of danger. Call the person in charge. The person in charge must gather the team and go to the nearest assembly point in order to verify that all personnel are present to ensure safe evacuation. In the event of an accident, always call the person in charge, who in turn will call the safety officer, and if the accident is serious or requires an ambulance, the safety officer must call 118. General instructions. Ensure that the employees of your company operate safely using the equipment and provisional work such as scaffolding, elevating platforms, ladders. Such equipment may only be used if it has been installed in accordance with standards and is complete with all its parts. The persons in charge must check that the employees of their company are in possession of the appropriate PPE for the work to be carried out, such as helmet with chin strap, safety shoes, gloves, fall prevention safety belts, hearing protectors, goggles, appropriate clothing, helmets with chin straps must always be worn on the construction site. The use of the angle grinder must be carried out wearing protective goggles. Work that requires the use of the angle grinder must be carried out on a workbench. The use of such equipment on elevating platforms is not permitted except in special cases or by prior agreement with the CSE. Remember that once portable equipment has been used, even momentarily, it must be switched off and disconnected, and the block must be inserted. In the case of electrical equipment, the plug must be unplugged from the mains to prevent the accidental switching on of such equipment. All machinery and equipment must be provided with a maintenance and testing certificate with assembly and use booklets. Equipment found without these documents will be banned from the worksite and cannot be used. The use of equipment and machinery must always be carried out correctly and in accordance with the rules of use specified in the use and maintenance booklet. The circular saw must be used in accordance with the type of work to be carried out, or alternatively, the work must be carried out with another tool such as a simple jigsaw or miter saw. Scaffolding must have telescopic or lightning stabilizers, and be approved for construction site work. A belt is not compulsory on scaffolding, but anchoring to existing structures or requesting the installation of a temporary lifeline where one can attach oneself is strongly recommended. When working on the scaffold, it is not permitted to move the scaffold with personnel on board. And it is compulsory to get off the scaffold, move it to where you have to work, and then climb back on it. Persons working on aerial platforms must wear safety belts and fasten them at the point specified by the manufacturer, and hold the relevant training certificate. Lifting platforms must not be used to reach places, but only to carry out work at height. Please note that lifting platforms are not to be used for lifting materials, but exclusively to take what must be assembled to a height, and disembarking from platforms at a raised level is not permitted. Activities to be performed at height must always be carried out in safety, paying the utmost attention to the possible passage of third parties below the platform itself. In this regard, the area must be marked with special white and red segregation tape and with a person supervising from the ground. The toilets have been placed outside by the client. It is not possible to do one's own needs inside the worksite or in makeshift bottles. You are also reminded that the alcohol tolerance threshold on the construction site is 0, so you are not allowed to drink alcohol on the construction site or eat on the construction site. In the event of an accident, health workers may be asked to carry out a drug test to check for traces of drugs in the blood. Running is not allowed on the construction site. Shouting is not allowed on the construction site because it could create alarm among workers.